having giving me the chance to speak today. As Gökhan said, it's great to stay in touch with everybody and share knowledge. We can speed up the learning curve. And I want to say also a big thanks to you, Raz, and the organizer to make this event possible. So, a few words about myself. I am Giuliano De Luca. I am an independent technical architect. And today I'm going to cover the topic how we can extend Microsoft Teams in order to bring it to the next level. Okay, in the next slide, there are some references about me. If you want to stay in touch with me, feel free, please. There is the Twitter, my Twitter handle, my blog, and and there is also my YouTube channel. I started 1 year ago, and I just crossed the 2,500 subscriber, which is absolutely great. I don't expect it to have so many subscribers. I hope that you can check it out. My YouTube channel. There are currently 130 videos around Microsoft 365 and Azure, and it's aimed to developer, IT pro, and user. I hope you can find useful content there. I have been awarded by Microsoft 4 times in a row as Microsoft MVP for the Office development category. I am quite active also on the official Microsoft GitHub account. I like to collaborate, code stuff, and provide solution. And for that reason, you can find also my GitHub account here. I am also the author of MyLeo Bot. This is a nice bot that works in the context of Office 365. It's totally free. You can find it in the Teams store, and it helps you to automate tasks. You can ask several information. For example, who is my manager? I want to arrange a meeting, or any other kind of information. I was born in Italy, just a little parenthesis, and but since 6 years I'm living in Germany now. Raz, there is something else that you want to say, or I can start and go forward with my session? Okay, so then let's deep dive in my session. So this is the agenda. I have plenty demos for you today. I will jump directly to Microsoft Teams. Of course, we will analyze how to extend Microsoft Teams. And finally, we will have 4 demos. And if you think about it, this is a session only for devs, you are wrong, because in the demo, I'll show you something which is really interesting also from an IT pro perspective, but also from a business perspective, because you can see several use cases that maybe can be useful for your organization. And finally, we will have conclusion. Okay, let's kick off now the session, and let's see how to bring to the next level Microsoft Teams. I will not spend a lot of words around Microsoft Teams. I think that the tool is quite famous. There are 4 main pillars about Microsoft Teams. We have communication, we have the ability to collaborate, we have the possibility to customize and extend this really powerful tool. And then there is another important pillar, which is security and compliance. We have seen several sessions today around this topic, which is absolutely important, because the organization must keep data secure. Okay, now we are going to focus on this session on the 3rd pillar, and I'm talking about customize and extend. I'll show you several ways that you can follow in order to extend Microsoft Teams and adapt it on your needs and on your organization needs. Okay, now let's explore all possibilities and all capabilities that we have to extend Microsoft Teams. So we have four main branch. We have dashboards and tool, we have conversation, we have inform and notify, and then we have apps. Going to the surface, dashboard and tool, we have tabs and we have adaptive cards. That means that we have the ability to encapsulate web application as tab in Microsoft Teams in a specific channel of a team. Then we have also the ability to use adaptive cards. If you are not familiar with that, this is a very powerful technology in order to display fancy and nice portion of UI in Microsoft Teams as post. So all you need to do is just to use JSON, and this JSON will be interpreted and rendered and on the backstage by Microsoft Teams, so you can easily display labels, text, buttons. And using the adaptive cards, you can even start and trigger workflow, for example. So you can send an adaptive card that reminds something to the user. Then the user clicking on the button on this adaptive card can trigger, for example, a Power Automate workflow. Then we have another main capability, which is conversations. In conversation, we have included bots and messaging extensions. Bots, it's I would say nowadays it's quite famous. So bots, it's everything that helps you to automate conversation. So you can use a bot to start a conversation, and this bot can help you to find probably the right answer, or can address you to find the right information that you are searching. Then we have messaging extensions that empower the ability to conversate with people. So imagine that you have to compose a structure in your conversation, or maybe you want to reference something, you want to link something in a conversation. Instead of searching this specific resource in Microsoft Teams or in any other kind of tool, opening the browser, for example, and navigating SharePoint, I'm just guessing what the user can do. You can work with messaging extensions, so you can have an application that helps you to search a content. And when you found this content, you can clicking, for example, on this specific resource, link this resource in the conversation. So messaging extensions helps you to build up the structure of your conversation. Moving to the next, we have inform and notify. This is another important capability of Microsoft Teams, especially the activity feed, which is one of my favorite. The activity feed helps you to focus always on something new that is coming. And this is also a good reason to turn on notification for teams or channels where you are working the most. And this means that the activity feed brings you notification and helps you to wake up, let's say, the user to ping the user in order to get feedback. So imagine that you need to start a workflow. So the idea could be to send notification in the activity feed so the user can immediately interact with the activity feed and provide a response or move the workflow to the next step. Then we have connectors. Connectors, it's another big door of this capability, and this offers the ability to connect Microsoft Teams with other services. Just to make a simple example, Twitter. So you can use the Twitter connector, and you can stay in touch with a specific Twitter account, and so you can read content directly in Microsoft Teams. And then we have the classic calling and meetings. Recently, Microsoft has extended the ability to develop custom meetings apps. So this means that during a meeting, you can use your custom app that helps you to, for example, to start a survey, or to maybe remember you that you have to update the notes of the meeting. So you can develop everything around meetings. And this is also a really nice addition. And finally, we have apps. Apps is another big and huge capability of Microsoft Teams, and we will see later more in detail about apps. So there are several kinds of apps that you can create in Microsoft Teams. There are personal apps, and there are tab app. So with the second one, you can embed a custom web app directly as a tab in a channel of a team. And a personal app is something which is more relevant and important for the entire organization. So let's say that you want to create an app that should be used from the entire organization. It makes absolutely sense in this case work with a personal app. And then we have another great component here included in apps, which is Microsoft Graph API. Microsoft Graph API, it's a bridge which connects your application with Microsoft 365. With Microsoft Graph API, you can surface the entire data that you have on Microsoft 365. You can collect information around the groups, users, and so on. We will see later more in detail. Now let's jump more in detail on every capability. So as I mentioned before, in terms of apps, you can build tab app or personal app. Personal app is one of my favorite, because with personal app you can create an application which has an organization impact. It means that every user in the company can use this app, not only in the desktop version of Microsoft Teams, but also in the mobile version of Microsoft Teams. So in fact, you can pin your application also in the mobile version of Microsoft Teams, and that's the reason why you have to always think and follow the mobile first pattern when you develop your application. Okay, now let's see immediately something here. So I'll show you two ways that you have to create an application in Microsoft Teams. So the first one is called Teams Toolkit. If you use Visual Studio Code, which is my favorite editor, by the way, with Teams Toolkit, you can just sign in to Microsoft 365. And once you are logged in, you can start to create your Teams apps. And then you can start the creation of a tab app, or maybe you want to create a bot or a messaging extension. And finally, we have also another option here available. You can start from an example. And we have here a to-do list with backend on Azure, to-do list with SPFX, which means SharePoint Framework, Share Now, in-meeting app, FAQ Plus. So there are several samples that you can reuse. And this toolkit basically, it gives you a more easy way, and it is more user-friendly in terms of functionality. So here you can easily add capabilities to your application. You can explore additional samples. You can add cloud resources if you have maybe something hosted in Azure. So let's say that you are creating your custom web application and you want to host this application in Azure. Then you can edit easily the manifest of this application. You can provision in the cloud your application. So you have a bunch of functionality. Another approach that you have is opening the terminal here is just using the Yeoman generator. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but it's now out from a while. So if I want to start to build an application, and if I want to host directly my application in SharePoint, so because I don't want to pay extra money to host my application on Azure, I can use SharePoint framework. And all I need to do is just type at Microsoft/SharePoint. This will start the Yeoman generator, which drives the developer to create the template of the application. So you have a bunch of questions, so you can decide if you want to create a web part or if you want to create a SharePoint extension or a SharePoint framework library. It's up to you. But if I go forward with web part, I can answer to other question and then start the creation of this solution. Now I'm going to exit from here because I already have this solution. I don't want to lose time. I already scaffolded here this solution. And basically what I have here is the solution that I'm going to show you right now. So I have this SharePoint framework solution. This is a web part, which is also available as personal app. And clicking on it, now I'm able to open this app, hopefully. Here we go, it's loading, and here we go. So this application is pretty easy. We have here several information. I want to show you this approach. So I'm going to store here some user preferences. So I have, which theme do you prefer? So you can decide to have light or dark. And then there is another parameter here. This is token. So for example, I can say that I want to save this token. And then I have another property, and here I will type themes. So then I will select light. And now I will save my settings. So this is a nice way that you have to save your preferences. So this means now that if I open the same app on my mobile device, here I am with my Android device, I'm using this tool called Let's View, which is absolutely amazing. It's totally free, and it allows you to mirror your device. So I'm going to open now Microsoft Teams, and now I'm going to click on the three dots more. I pinned this personal app also in the mobile version of Microsoft Teams, and in fact is here, cross-device user data. I will open now this app, and we will see that now this app shows up with the same settings that I saved. So I have the as 10 light, I have this token 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I have these properties. So the data persists. It doesn't matter where I am. I open this app on the desktop version of Microsoft Teams and then on my Android device. This because I store the data on OneDrive. So I use a special folder available in OneDrive called apps. And let me go on my files. We have this special folder called apps. Through Microsoft Graph API, it's possible to use this folder, and you can store data So in this case, I'm using OneDrive because the data has to follow the current user. So I created this folder cross-device app, and then we have a JSON. I save it here, the settings.json, and what we can see here are exactly the properties that we have seen before. We have temp light, we have this token, and we have this preference. And when I load every time this application collects this information from the OneDrive of the user and display the data accordingly. Okay, now, if I have another solution here that I wanted to show you, it is the resizer. This is another one, and it is always a personal hub. So this is another nice application because I followed the pattern mobile first. It means that I can resize this application. Let me just open this on my mobile device. I hope that it's pinned here as well. Here we go. I'm going to open this up, and as you can see now, I'm rendering this information differently. So this is a grid. It's probably one of the most difficult components to render in a smaller screen. In fact, here, what I'm going to do is just creating and displaying every item of this grid as a tile in the mobile view. So in this way, I can use this grid even if I'm using my smartphone. This is another approach. What I use it here is the official Fluent UI framework offered by Microsoft for free, absolutely. So it's included in the SharePoint framework, and it helps you to create a UI in every component that you have. Okay, let's move now forward. Let me start again this presentation, and let's move now to the bot capability. Let me disable the transcription. And so here we go. Bot is another great way to start a conversation and to trigger a process. So I said in the first slide when I was presenting myself that I developed a bot, my Leo bot, because the idea behind was to have an Office 365 personal assistant that helps every user in a company. In every company, from my experience, I have seen always difficult to find information, especially when in an organization there are several platforms, for example, SAP, Microsoft 365, and many other. And some features are stored in a platform instead of another. So, for example, you have the holiday request that you can submit on SAP. Then you have information related to the employees' benefit in SharePoint. So you have to navigate through different technologies and platforms. So a nice use case could be to have a personal assistant that helps to find the right information for the end user, especially for new employees that has to deal with a lot of information, financial support, where I can submit my holiday request, where I can find employees benefit, if we have an insurance, all these kind of information or more information related to projects. So a bot could step in and fill this gap, offering the ability to drive the user to the right answer. Then we have, as I mentioned before, the messaging extension. This is an app that show up. You can create this app always with SharePoint framework if you want. And this can help you, for example, to search a task and to assign this task to a user. So this will appear as a conversation in the channel of the team, and maybe can help you to mention immediately the user without writing too much. Finally, we have connectors. Here, as I said, we have the possibility to connect Microsoft Teams to other services. As I mentioned, there is a very basic sample with Twitter, so we can collect all tweet coming from a specific Twitter account in a channel of a team. So this could be a usage that we can make of connectors. Then another great capabilities is Microsoft Graph API. So using, for example, a personal app that we have seen before, we can easily connect this app with other things on Microsoft 365. We can connect the app with groups, with calendar, with Outlook, with users, with files, conversation in Microsoft Teams, with SharePoint sites, and so on. There are so many possibilities, but you have to keep in mind that this is the way that you have to follow, because this is the bridge that connects your app to Microsoft 365. And finally, we have Adaptive Card, a nice typical use case could be when the user, a new employee, for example, has to book the device. So a new employee maybe has the ability to select the right device according to the rule that he has or she has. And this could be a process integrated directly in Microsoft Teams. So for example, an IT system engineer or another IT guy can start this process by sending an adaptive card in a chat of the user, and the user with this slider can select the right device for him, the right laptop according to the rule that he has. Now, I want to introduce you another great tool called the App Studio in Microsoft Teams that helps you to create the manifest of your application. This is absolutely important, especially if you are creating a custom web app that maybe it's hosted on Azure. Because in SharePoint framework, there is the nice way to synchronize directly from the SharePoint app catalog your solution into the Teams app catalog. So you don't need to create a manifest, but this is something that I like every time to do, because there are several information that I want to focus on. For example, the privacy link, the link that can clarify how the apps works. So you can bring more information around the app, and this is absolutely useful for the end user. Now I'll show you how it works, this app. Let me jump again on Microsoft Teams. And so all you need to do is just jump on apps. And if you don't have this tool installed, this app installed, you have just to type, you can type tool App Studio. And here we go. This is the official app delivered by Microsoft App Studio. So clicking on it, I can directly open this app because I already installed this application. Now let's explore several tabs that we have here. I will speed up a little bit just to stay in time. Okay, so here I have several information. I will open now this manifest of my application. So what I have here, I have the app details. So I have the short name of my app, I have the full name of my application, the app ID, I have the package name. This should follow this syntax. Normally, it's always good to follow this kind of approach, com.package the name of your company, and then dot the name of your application. The version, short description, full description, developer company. So these are other kind of information. Then there is the app URL, the privacy statement. This is absolutely important, especially if you are an ISV. So if you are creating an app that you want to sell and you want to publish this app in the Teams App Store, you have to provide all information around the privacy, how your application works with the user data, then the terms of use, the icon. Finally, let's go on capabilities. So you have to specify if this app it's tab app or it's a personal app. In my case, it's a personal app, so I added here a new item. If this app it's a bot, so you have to click on the button set up and you have to provide additional information of this, or if you are creating a custom connector, you have to start to create and fill out this part of the form. And finally, we have messaging extensions. Going through the section finish, you have to specify if this app support the language and the region, or which one you can import additional languages. And then here you have to provide the domain where this app is stored. If you use some resources, so let's say that this is an app that you can install as a tab in a team. So here you have absolutely to specify which permission of the Graph API this app will use. So in this way, the user one will install this app. There will be a prompt message that will remind him that this app will interact with some data on the Office 365 tenant using a specific permission that you will list here. If there is the single sign-on, in this case, this application is also the initial point. I'll show you in the next demo what this application does. Here you have a preview of all your manifest. This is the manifest that you have. You can include this manifest in the SharePoint Framework solution, for example, and with the latest version, with one of the latest version of SharePoint Framework, there is now the ability by specifying the manifest and including this manifest in the package of the solution to synchronize directly this manifest in the Teams app catalog. This means that you will have all this information synchronized in Microsoft Teams, which is absolutely great. From here, you can install and test directly your application on your tenant. Okay, that's it. This is the App Studio from a manifest perspective. Here there are many other functionality. Returning to the topic of before, if you are an ISV, so if you want to publish your app in the official Microsoft Teams store, reachable by everybody, you can use this feature just to check if your manifest looks good. Because when you submit it, when you want to publish your app in the Teams app store, there is a validation process that starts, and there are Microsoft engineers that will validate your application. If this application is conform to the governance, and if the manifest has all information needed. But you can even use App Studio to build a card, to build an adaptive card. So what we have here, this is an adaptive card. So this is a title, a subtitle, we have an image, and then we have two buttons. So you can use this editor to create your adaptive card. What I have here, the JSON, is I can just change the information from here, and this JSON will, and then this tool will render the JSON for you. So here, for example, I can add an additional button, and then I can just type test, for example, and here we go. I have a third button here. Moving to the next tab, we have the UI tools, and this helps you to start to create your UI. So there is the, as I mentioned before, the Fluent UI framework that helps you to easily build your UI in your application. There are sample app. There are many other UI templates that you can reuse. Here there is also a bot that helps you to find several information. Okay, let's jump back on the presentation. So we are quite near to the end. We have additional demos that I want to show you. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we have two kinds of app experiences that we can have. The first one is the ability to have your web application embedded as a tab in a channel of a team, or as a personal app in Microsoft Teams. Now I want to open, before to jump on the demo, let me just jump back because I want to open a literal parenthesis of personal app. Let's say that instead of make your personal app available for the entire organization, you want to create a personal app which will be available only for the human resources department. All you can do is create a specific app policy in the Teams admin center, for example, HR, and then you can add all member of all employee that works in the HR department. And then you can include this app in this policy, which is assigned to all HR users. In this way, this personal app will be available in the Teams app catalog only for the HR users and not for the entire company. Now let's jump on this demo. I'll show you the Me experience, which is pretty cool. So let's say that you want to have a personal space in Microsoft Teams when you can have a look to your specific information. So clicking on three dots, I have here this app called Me. Clicking on this app, you can find this page. Opening a parenthesis, you can find all demo that I'm showing you today on my GitHub account. So if you want to explore much more in detail all this application, feel free to jump on my GitHub account. I made also a video on my YouTube channel of all these demos, so if you want to rewatch it, feel free. So what I have here in this page is my personal space. As a Giuliano De Luca, I have the ability here to check my upcoming meetings. I can see all my tasks listed here, and then I have an overview of my last 5 emails that I received. Scrolling a little bit down, I have additional information. I have, for example, followed sites. I have here the feed web part. I'm not really active on this tenant. That's the reason why the feed web part is not displaying data here. But normally, if you are active on a tenant, you will see files where you are working the most. You will see colleagues where you collaborate much more, and so on. Then I have here additional information. So I have several news on my intranet, on my home site, in my SharePoint Online. And I don't have the time to read all articles, all news articles. So what I can do is just click on the button Save for later on the news, and then this will be displayed in this area. And then I have here an organization web part, so I can click on this user at the events, and I can see all other users that currently are working under or on or for other events. Now I have the ability to edit this page directly. I am the owner of this SharePoint site. So basically this is a classic SharePoint page. Now there is this new capability that helps me to edit directly this page here. So I can click on edit, and now I'm going to change something. So we can see that we have all sections here, and so this is an organization chart web part. So all I can do here is just remove this web part and then submit for approval. Now I'm going to publish this page for everybody, so everybody in the company will no longer see this organigram chart web part. So now I'm triggering here a process. I turned on the page approval workflow on this site. This is the home site of my SharePoint tenant. Please approve. So there is this Power Automate workflow that triggers, and now let me open another instance of the browser with another user, which is Ligu. Ligu is the approver for this home site. Let me just see here. So here I can click on the button Review Approvals, so I can see if my request has been approved or not. In the meantime, I'm trying to load Microsoft Teams connected as Ligu. So here it's still pending, of course. In the meantime, I will open the home site. Okay, maybe SharePoint is faster. Now I should have here a button with the review. I think in the meantime, Microsoft Teams is loading. So let me change language. I also turn it on. So I'm wrong. Probably it's not Ligu, the approver of this process. Let me try to review. Maybe I am me, or let me open directly here. Let's see if I can do something here. Now I'll jump on this page that it is in the inside pages. Teams is still loading. I'm going then in the side pages. Let's see if I found this page. So Teams is still loading, but yeah, I wanted to show you also the ability to approve directly in Microsoft Teams this publishing request. Now let me search the Me experience. So I have here Martin. New company benefit. Yes, this is the home. Maybe I can search so this way for my personal space. There we go. That's the page. Sorry, the network is not really helping today. Okay, now I am on this page, which is exactly the page that we are seeing here in Microsoft Teams. So let me close this one. There we go. Okay, now is loading, and we crashed the instance of the browser. Let me open here this page. Now let me click on review. So the nice thing of this approach is that any time that you have to update something on the page, you have just to edit this SharePoint page, and this will be reflected in the personal app of Microsoft Teams. So by refreshing this app, I will see exactly the content changed. Okay, so I have the button now here. I hope that this will load fastly. I don't know how I want to hit too much time for the next demo, but we are quite near just to demonstrate you that you can change something editing the page in SharePoint, and this will be immediately reflected in the personal app. Let me, okay, it's showing the app. So this is the approver. Here we go, finally. Now I'm approving this request, okay. Okay, now, finally, this change, I removed the organization chart web part below, and this means that the page is now, so if I make a refresh of this app, I will no longer see this, the organization chart web part. So we can see already that from the legal perspective, I am displaying this app, and this is no longer available. We can see if this opens in the Teams. There we go. This is always legal. From another user perspective, we can see that this personal space app has no longer the organigram chart web part. And here we go. So this is a nice way when you want to use this app, for example, My Personal Space, and you want to just edit some content on the page. You don't need to code nothing, so you don't need to deploy nothing. You have just to edit the content on the page, and this will be changed accordingly in Microsoft Teams as well. Okay, now let me very quickly jump on the other demo, which is the approval app, and then I'm going to wrap up this session. So another great way to extend Microsoft Teams is to integrate approvals request. So I'm talking about the new app released by Microsoft called Approvals. If you open the apps page in Microsoft Teams, and if you type Approvals, you will find this app by Microsoft. And clicking on it, you can decide to install this app as a personal app, or you can add this approval app in a team, or you can add to your chat or to a meeting. So let's say that during a meeting, you need to trigger and start an approval workflow. This could be a nice scenario. Now, I already installed this as a personal app because I want to have here on the left navigation pane of Microsoft Teams always available this app, because this helped me to keep track of every request that I submit. Now, changing perspective, I will open the same app with Ligu. And going back to Giuliano, we can see in this app that we can see all approvals requests submitted, and we can also see the Adobe Sign approval request. Let's say that you want to start a workflow where the manager sign is required. So signing in on Adobe, this require an extra license of Adobe, allows you to basically approve. So a manager, for example, can approve an approval step by providing a digital signature. Or maybe you can just start a simple approval workflow where the manager has just to click on the button. So clicking here on the three dots, there is a nice feature available here, which are templates. So you can use existing templates available, for example, activity funds, discount application, maintenance, or business trip. Maybe you need to request to your manager the approval to have a business trip, or maybe you want to send a request for leave or work from home payment requests. There are several templates. Now you can create your own template, so you can create your custom templates for your organization by following this kind of approach, or directly from the Teams Admin Center. Now I will start a simple approval step by closing here the template management page. I will tap here, new approval step. I can reuse an existing template. So for example, I have a webinar here. Let's say this webinar. I want to ask to my manager if I can run a webinar in the company around, guess what? Let me be innovative. Microsoft Teams webinar. So we are going to have a Microsoft Teams webinar around this capability of Microsoft Teams. The approver is Ligu, for example. And so then I have to provide additional information. Please, I want to run this webinar. There we go. Then I will click on send. Now, I can see this approval request listed here in this grid, and in the meantime, Ligu should receive this approval request. So here we go. This is in status requested, and we can see that I send this approval request, send to Ligu. I can follow up this one. And in the meantime, I got in the activity feed a notification here. And here we go. This is the request coming from my colleague, Giuliano De Luca. And as approver, I can now decide if give the chance to my colleague to run this webinar. Okay, and then I will click on approve. Now this request is approved and is listed in the history, so we can keep track of this decision. And we have also the previous one related to the My Personal Space app. And so we can see that I approved it 7 minutes ago, this app, and this was the SharePoint page. So this is how it works, the approval app in Microsoft Teams. And the nice thing here is that you can create your custom workflow using Power Automate, and then through the Approvals app in Microsoft Teams, you can easily trigger your custom workflow in Power Automate. You can have every step in here directly in Microsoft Teams. Let me wrap up quickly my session. I want to leave you with all references here available about this session, and also the references to my blog, to my YouTube channel. I hope that you will check it out, my YouTube channel, subscribe. It's very important. And so you can even take a picture if you want, or a screenshot. And let me just jump on the chat just to see if we have some question. I will stay here for some minutes if we have some question. Thank you for joining Giuliano. My session.
Thank you, Giuliano. That was really, really insightful. I think if you could share your contact details in the chat, that would be really helpful as well, so people can follow your blog and your YouTube and your LinkedIn, if that's possible.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to share everything.